Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 2020, 41.9 millimeters in diameter in rose gold. This is the Lange Söhne Lange 1 Perpetual Calendar. So it is 41.9 millimeters. This is the original Grand Lange 1 case size. It's 12.4 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, it's 49.7 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll zoom out, throw this on my wrist. My wrist is oval, 16 centimeters in circumference. And you can see it's a large watch. I'm going to recommend it for wrists my size or larger, so 16 centimeters circumference or up. Any smaller wrist, and those lugs are probably going to arc out over the edge, and that's the no-go level for lug size relative to wrist size. That said, it is thin, and with a domed bezel, it should slide easily underneath the dress cuff. We'll zoom out a little bit to get a better sense of it. Some people want to know how big my arm is, not just how big my wrist is. So there you can see, there's my hand, there's my arm. It wears well, but again, it's that lug encroachment on the edge of the wrist you got to watch out for. Now, taking a look, we have a lovely Lange factory strap in brand new condition with calfskin on the bottom, light honey brown on the top. It is a semi-gloss. We have a folded edge. We have a monotone stitch. We have large rectangular scale alligator leather, a little bit of bolstering to give it some volume and some definition down the center. A feature rarely found on Lange watches, a full deployant clasp in matching rose gold to avoid dropping your timepiece while donning it or removing it at bedside. Taking a look at the case, it's standard fare for Lange. We have pusher correctors for the calendar. This one adjacent to the, well, let's call it the 7 o'clock lug. That will adjust all of the calendar indications in sync. So the day, date, month, and the moon phase, as well as theoretically the leap year. So if you fall behind 3 days, wind your watch up, set it to the correct time, and then press this index 3 times, and everything will set forward in sync to correct for the time and calendar space lost. You can see the case is simple. As with most Lange watches, we have a domed and polished case back, a domed and polished bezel. The actual case back is set back somewhat to create the impression of a thinner watch on the wrist. And then, as with most Lange watches, we have the lugs stepped out to give them a little bit of a separate presence from the case, and a Lange branded crown. Rolling around the dial, it is gray with several different textures and tones. Most of the dial is a sort of opaline or light frosted gray, and then you can see that we have dropped and sunken sub-registers for your constant seconds as well as your moon phase. And I guess I should fire this up in a moment, but let me emphasize that there is more than meets the eye to that moon phase. It is a superimposed AM PM indicator and moon phase. So you can see as I adjust the time, it will transition through day, night, and back. So notice how the moon is not actually moving here. The moon in Lange moon phase tradition is a solid block of gold. The disc below it features AM PM details, and then the moon phase does not need to be adjusted for 122 years after it's set. By comparison, the watch's perpetual calendar needs to be reset in the year 2100. So this is a perpetual calendar. We have the day in retrograde fashion, the date in panorama datum or outsize date fashion. We have the month orbital, and then we have a leap year phase indicator. Again, one pusher will adjust all of them in sync if you want. Otherwise, you have individual pushers to adjust the individual calibrations. Taking a quick look, the watch surprisingly is luminescent, so you can read it in the dark. The dial, although sort of an anthracite gray, is actually made of sterling silver. So it's a solid silver dial with rose gold indices, Roman numerals, hands, date frame in a rose gold case, and we'll flip it all over and you can take a look at the movement, which is an absolute epic achievement. I didn't wind it because I wanted you to be able to see distinctly that this is a free sprung balance architecture that's adjusted in 5 positions, which is the high horology and chronometer standard. It is a very special movement. Automatic winding with a 50-hour power reserve. It features prolific engine turning. You can see the perlage on the base plate, the balance cock, as well as the edge of the bridges. You could see that locating pegs have been black polished on their top. They're used to locate the bridges on the base plate. You can see we have black polishing on some of the screws, the ball bearing for the rotor, the cap for the escape wheel, and the swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism for the balance. You can see freehand engraving on the balance cock itself. No two of these will be exactly alike. You could see, if we look very closely, I'll do my best to show this here, that we have sharp interior angles where bevels meet. Look adjacent to the cover of the escape wheel, and you can see those two bevels meeting in a sharp inward cleft crease. Very rare and difficult to achieve. The anglage that's been executed on these German silver bridges is world-class, mirrored and rounded, and they are German silver bridges and plates, which means their distinctive golden hue comes from their composition nickel, copper, and zinc, with the copper giving the golden hue. Beautiful, deeply gradiated stripes. You can see when I say gradient, I mean there's a color change from side to side, from dark to light. Then we have fired blue screws. We have pivots inside of ruby cups held by golden chaton, a nod to the pocket watch era of Lange watchmaking. The balance beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It does feature stop seconds. It also features the perpetual calendar with retrograding day. Take a look at the actual wheel for the winding system. Take a look at the use of polished pegs fixing the rotor to the bearing. And then we have blued screws fixing a 21 karat gold rotor to a platinum mass. That is a double precious metal rotor, and the rotor has many different finishes: satin, chiseling, polishing, fired blued screws, and mirrored anglage on its edge. This is literally as good gets. No, this is great. And it's all 30 meters water resistant, maybe academic, but it's nice to know. Reach out, if you love this watch, to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.